Morning, Hanko and Tabile.
Morning, doctor. How are you?
Good morning, doctor. Fine, thank you. How have you been?
I've been all right. Thank you, doctor. It's nice to just be back home again.
Yes, I've just arrived this morning, eh?
Yo, you must be tired, doc. How was the
I
conference?
arrived this morning. So, but I didn't want to miss today's class. Morning, Nancy. So let's give the others time, eh? Meanwhile, let me send you your cut results, eh?
All right. Thank you, doctor. Will that be via email?
Via email, eh?
All right. Thank you, doctor.
Let me just share it. Let me begin with those who are around, eh?
Good morning, doctor.
Morning, morning. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, and you?
Fine, thanks.
Good.
Nancy?
Sorry, doctor?
Oh, okay. No, I'm forwarding your cut results, eh?
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Through your email, eh?
Perfect, thank you.
So I've sent Hanko's Nancy. Let me send Troy. Please just check and tell me if you've received.
Yes, doctor. Thank you very much.
You've received, eh?
Yes, doctor. It just came through on my side.
Justus, how are you?
Good, thanks, and you, doctor?
You're well?
Yes, doctor. Just struggling with the power outage here in Hatfield for the last 13 hours.
Okay. So please just check if this is your result, eh?
Good morning, doctor.
Morning, morning.
Doctor, I've also received my results. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Where are the results, guys? Wait, on ClickUp.
Huh?
Via email. Via email. Just check your email. It's come through there.
Nkosi, your email is?
Oh. Ye-
Thank you, doctor. Also received my work.
Okay. Nkosi, what's your email?
Prof, I haven't received my result.
Nkosi, please share with me your email, eh? Who is Geoffrey?
Yes, Prof.
Doctor. I'll just send
Kindly
it
just
via
share with me your
WhatsApp
email
or
addresses. I don't know why I'm not getting it. Nancy, I've sent you.
I can give it to you now.
You've given it to me. The one that you forwarded. Nkosi.
Okay, let me.
Kindly just drop your email addresses there very fast so that we can. I don't know why I'm not getting them. Musa? Musa?
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor.
Yours is Musa Brian, eh?
No, I'm calling.
Musa?
Yes, doctor. Hello, doctor. Doctor, you getting me?
Yes, I've sent, eh?
Okay. Thank you.
So I hope you are going through the work. Eh? You love what you've seen, eh? Thembi, your other name is Thembi? Kumalo?
Good morning, doctor.
Thembi, what's your other name? Thembi Kumalo?
It's Tembi Faith Kumalo.
Hello?
Tembi Faith Kumalo.
Okay.
Doctor, I've sent you an email. Like my connection is so slow. I don't know what's happening. Maybe the problem is with the Wi-Fi.
Thembi, I've sent, eh?
Thank you very much, doctor.
Who else has not received? Geoffrey, you have received, eh?
Yes, doctor.
Musa, you have received? Mercy, not yet, eh?
Yes, doctor, I've received.
Mercy, how are you?
I'm all right, doctor. Good morning.
Morning to you. Please just check your email, eh?
All right.
For your results, for the CAT results, eh? Now, I quickly wanted to just say something regarding the CAT, eh? Of course, a number of you have performed well. Others have not really done as expected. And what I noticed is that there's a lot of lifting, eh? Copy pasting. You copy a document or a paragraph from a document and you just paste without really going through and understanding whether whatever you are trying to respond to is the correct one. So this time I was a bit lenient, but remember, we are supposed to subject these to, some test, plagiarism tests. And in case of plagiarism, you know what is required. So please just be cautious, so that you avoid lifting a whole paragraph. You find that somebody has written a whole page responding to one question, and it's just information lifted from a document. So let us just be cautious. Sibongile, morning.
Morning, Doctor. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Sibo. You can check your email for your results.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
So I think, who else is not there? Who else has not received the results?
Doctor, I've just posted Tuba's email address on the meeting chat.
Tembi, I thought that I've sent you.
Yes, Doctor. Tuba says she has connection problems, so she couldn't post her email address, so I just posted it on the chat.
That is whose email?
Tuba's email.
Kosi.
Yes, ma'am.
Mushi, you are there? Mushi?
Good morning, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I
Morning,
joined a bit
how are
late,
you?
but I'm good, thanks. And yourself?
I'm fine. What's your email address? Kindly just post it on the chat box,
Okay, ma'am.
so that I think so far so good.
Thanks, Doctor. I received mine.
Okay, you're welcome. Mm-hmm. Who has not received the CAT results?
Doctor, I just posted my email now on the chat.
Oh, that is Mushi, eh?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, I think that's sorted. So let's quickly go through the cuts and confirm how you ought to have addressed. Let me just open the questions. Now, the first question was about managing information flow. So managing information flow along the supply chain is critical for success of the entire supply chain. However, most firms and actors are not always fully transparent. What challenges might this create? Suggest ways of overcoming these challenges. So what I noticed with your responses, you were mentioning the challenges, but then you never suggested ways of overcoming these challenges. Of course, we know that if one party is informed and the other party is not informed, or there's no transparency along the supply chain, then you are likely to encounter some of the unobserved behaviors, the opportunistic behaviors, the adverse selection, the moral hazard, and all that. So those ones were well mentioned. And of course, there's also the issue of conflicting objectives and even difficulty in designing the right products, which are desired by the customers. And as actors, they may not attain their optimal solutions. So then how can these challenges be overcome? So that bit was not well addressed. There are a few who managed to address. I think Anko, you addressed it pretty well. Anko.
Yes, Doctor. Yes.
Yes. Could you just tell them what you wrote?
Must I read my whole response or just?
No, just summarize.
Okay, so I just started out by saying why information management is important. Then I started analyzing where in the value chains information, for example, where there are problems specifically in the whole chain. And then I just said, what are the consequences of these miscommunications? And then now bringing obviously a bit of knowledge from institutional economics. I just spoke about the adverse selection part. And then I just then went on to saying, what are the consequences? I think I forgot 8 points. I just added it again. And then I just spoke about the resolutions to how to solve the problems and overcome those issues in the specific areas of the value chain.
So how do you overcome them? Just to mention some of them.
So I just said some of the solutions could be, a large portion of it could be solved by making use of up-to-date software and systems, as well as making use of other computer systems to track, for example, sales. So there's no miscommunication of quantities that are ordered or that have been sold, so that there's an accurate representation of what the current demand is. That way, processors, retailers, logistics people will know exactly how much to transport from where to where. They'll know how much to store, and they'll know how much to order. I also said another way that they could reduce information asymmetry is by shortening the supply chain, should it be too long, by vertically integrating. And yeah, by means of the systems, it will obviously open the means of communication between all the parties, whether it's horizontal or vertical players.
Yes, and also establishing relationships such as contracts.
Yes.
Such as contractual arrangements. So when you establish such kind of arrangements, then you will minimize on these unobserved behaviors. So, and that is how I expected you guys to respond to the questions. But then the first bit was well highlighted, but then the challenges were missing. Then the second one on agricultural supply chains involves the flow of products across the different levels of the and management of these chains can significantly affect the profitability of the products. Therefore, an efficient network design is essential to guarantee the maximum productivity of an agricultural product. So using an illustration, this demonstrates how an efficient network can enhance maximum productivity of an agricultural product. So you are to use an illustration, just a figure, just draw a figure and illustrate on how costs can be minimized or reduced in those networks, how customer demands can be met, and also maintaining the product qualities, because this will enhance maximum productivity, and also to ensure the optimal flow of the products along the supply chain, as well as reduction in losses and wastes. And you can all achieve all this by use of technology. So that's what I expected you to do. Just an illustration and point out how productivity can be enhanced. And you are in a position to enhance productivity if you meet customer demands, you maintain acceptable product quality, you ensure that there is optimal flow of the products along the supply chain, such that at any given point, customers do not miss these products. And you also reduce on the losses and the wastes, as well as reduce costs. So you illustrate how this can be achieved. So again, people wrote several stories, nice stories. Then the second part, question 2, in the dynamic environments, supply chain responsiveness is increasingly becoming important, and therefore the agri-food farms must go beyond meeting the obvious expectations of customers. How can these farms respond optimally to the dynamic changes, as well as generate sufficient revenue for its stakeholders, and at the same time enhance consumer value creation? So for this particular question, if you had made reference to the value creation framework and borrowed points from that framework, remember the discussions, how can you be competitive in a dynamic space? Do you remember those segments? How you can move from dream to hell and all that, So all those discussions are what I expected in these, as you're trying to address these questions. So, of course, actors can respond to the customer needs by providing the perceived benefits that customers desire. And how can they move from the different segments under different situations so that they are able to generate substantial profits? So they are able to do that by positioning themselves in the market, trying to have a competitive edge, either in terms of their prices, in terms of their products, undertaking value addition and value creation, and refocusing on creating more value to the customers so that they are able to offer better services and products. They can also be innovative and so on and so forth. So, and if you made reference to that, then you are on the right track. Then the last one is, how does supply chain integration influence management of market uncertainty? So first of all, you need to understand what market uncertainty is, identify some of these uncertainties, and then how can supply chain integration help in managing these uncertainties? For instance, we can talk about uncertainties regarding the sales fluctuating, the inventories, and so on and so forth. So as a farmer or an actor, you can be able to monitor these elements. You are able to monitor the sales. You are able to have the right records and inventories, and you monitor through the chain. You're also able to do a market forecast so that you have a clear understanding of the market, how it looks like, the future, the changes that are likely to take place. What about information, uncertainties related to information? So again, you need to be abreast with the information, the recent information and detailed information. So all these, of course, and there are many market uncertainties that, of course, you can mention and see how the integration can be able to address the uncertainties. So that is what I expected from your end. So, but some of you did pretty well. Others, I think, next time I've mentioned that avoid lifting information from relevant sources and just pasting them, because that is unacceptable, that is plagiarism. So I think that's all. Any question before we move to today's topic or lesson?
No, Doctor, all good from my side. Thank you.
What about the others?
Doctor, is there going to be another test this semester?
Yes, yes, we shall do one before we sit for the main exam.
Okay.
When
you.
maybe, Doctor?
I think we will set a date. Remember, we are behind schedule because of the recess. But you guys extended this recess, eh? Or is it that you...
No.
You added some days, eh?
No, Doctor. It was how it was supposed to be.
Yes, eh? That's what happened, eh? I realized that the recess was a bit long. It was a bit long. And anyway, it has happened. So what we'll do, we'll create some time so that we can try and push the remaining lessons. Is it possible to have some makeup? Hello?
I think, Doctor,
Yes,
maybe we
Doctor.
can, but maybe we must just have like a few days and at different times that you're available, and then see how we can meet one another midway.
Okay. Yeah, I know I've also been busy, and I think I'll also be traveling again next week. I'll be in Joburg next week, so I'm hoping that I'll have some time to at least meet with you guys. But thereafter, I'll be a bit free so that we can have some makeup. Now, today, I think we are moving to the 5th topic. That is supply chain coordination and governance. So concerning the 6th topic, these will be tackled by a different person, an invited guest or lecturer, as well as topic 11. That is financing the supply chain. Again, I will get a guest to take you through that topic. So today I want us to move to the 5th topic, and that is supply chain coordination and governance. And I think we've tried to discuss part of this topic. We've touched base with a few concepts here and there. But then let's get into details, more details. So supply chain coordination and the governance. We know that there is a complexity when it comes to trade, because right now we are not just focusing on the local markets. We are also trying to penetrate the global markets. And therefore, this requires some coordination, an effort to ensure that the players within a market system act in a common way or towards a common goal, so that at the end of the day, they are able to complement one another. So they work in a complementary way. So we know that most developing countries consist of small-scale farmers who are not well linked to the modern supply chains. And we've seen that most of these farmers have really suffered. They've been exploited by the cartels, by those who are able to penetrate those markets. So not unless these activities are well coordinated and governed, in the sense that there are institutional frameworks which helps in managing these transactions, then these farmers will always be at the receiving end. So the other thing is that there's lots of diversity for various players in the supply chain. For instance, if you look at the buyers or the consumers, we know that the consumer tastes and preferences, and consumers are also becoming very cautious about food safety, food quality, and the rising consumer incomes means that they'll need more products. There's a quest for a variety of products. And at the end of the day, there's need to undertake product differentiation as well as market segmentation, so that we come up with the different products that meet the needs of different market segments. On the other hand, if you look at the suppliers, that is the food processors, the retailers, and so on and so forth. They also need some assurance on the quality of products that farmers offer to them. So farmers must always try to adhere to some standards to ensure that the products meets the right standards which are required or meets the requirements of these players, both local and global. So all these changes requires that there must be some coordination, the changes within the agri-food markets. Therefore, demands for a well-coordinated supply chain, whereby the activities are well coordinated, the actors within the chain become more aligned. So these coordinated efforts are very, very necessary, and institutional frameworks which can guide the transactions in the supply chain. So far we have discussed the principles of supply chains, the flow of information. We understand the challenges of information asymmetry and how we can overcome this. And we also know that a supply chain is a flow of processes trying to link together activities so that at the end of the day, value is created. And these people are very, very important, or these elements, the activities, the role players or the actors, the outcomes. At the end of the day, what is our expectation? If all these activities and players are well coordinated, what is our expectation? And institutions. Are we together? Hello?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, Doctor.
So if you look at this figure, this is just, it shows the flow of activities. We have got the different players, the different nodes and activities. And these transactions must be well matched. So, and the input provision, we have got the input suppliers. They have a role to play to ensure that production is undertaken. They must supply the right inputs. They must supply the right quantity. So that information should flow to producers. There must be some collaboration between the producers and the input suppliers. So they must be in touch so that the producer places the right order and the right input, and this must be supplied by the suppliers. After production, these products can be taken to the pack house. Others can be marketed directly. Others can be marketed the export markets. There are other value chain management activities that can be undertaken, such as the processing, the packaging, and so on and so forth. And this, again, is taken to the distribution center, the supermarkets, and consumers. So it requires some coordination. all these activities requires coordination. Are we together?
Yes,
Hello?
Doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Is that okay? Okay, so looking at that figure, you find that we require some institutions as well that can govern these transactions. So as the products flow from one point to the other, these institutional frameworks are very, very important to ensure that these transactions are carried out accordingly, and any challenge or challenges faced along the supply chain are addressed. So these activities must be well linked for the outcomes to be realized. So we do have some governance relationships. And we have the governance mechanisms by which these relationships can be managed. We have got the contractual governance. We have got relational governance. But remember, we are operating in a diverse space. And this environment is also volatile. So we must take cognizance of this diversity and volatility, even as you think about the governance structures. And also the uncertainties. We are not sure, we are not certain about the changes in the environment. Isn't it? Sometimes you can plan as a farmer, as an actor, you want to do certain things, but then you end up not doing them according to your plans because of these uncertainties. So all this influence the kind of governance factors that you wish to have in place. But then we also have these elements, the specific, the transaction specificity and the asset investment. Again, all this can influence the kind of governance structure or mechanism which you desire to have at the end of the day. So when you talk about contractual governance can enhance supply chain performance when actors establish long-term relationships. They establish market contracts, production contracts. They collaborate. And remember, this is again based on trust. So trust is very, very important in such kind of relationships. And we also have the relational governance, whereby we have the cooperative norms and trust. So which one is vertical and which one is horizontal relationship? Hello?
Yes,
when you look
doctor.
at this contractual governance, which one is horizontal and which one is vertical?
Cooperative norms is horizontal and contractual governance is vertical.
So can you give me an example of any contractual arrangements that you are aware of?
Now, doctor, for example, For the company I work with,
Mhm.
we have contracts with our farmers that grow maize on our behalf as outgrowers
Mhm.
that we use for seed production.
Mhm.
That is the vertical production, vertical kind of arrangement.
Mhm. So
But
they
these farmers,
supply your company with maize, eh?
yeah, they supply our company with maize.
Mm.
Yeah.
So how does it work? How does the arrangement work?
What we do,
Mm.
these farmers are in cooperatives. We have extension workers that are on ground.
Mhm.
They work in coordination with the local government, like the DAOs, the district agriculture officers, who are in charge of the district under agriculture. And they link us to these farmers as we have an MOU with the district. Then we formulate a contract, like an MOU between the farmers and the company directly. To do the production on our behalf as our outgrowers, and then they supply us with the maize after the grain.
So as a company, do you monitor the activities of
Yes,
these
Dr. I
farmers?
still we have the extension officers on ground that do the monitoring on the company's behalf.
Mhm.
Yes.
Any other person who can give us a different example? So that is production contracts. What about market contracts? So at the end of the day, you find that the actors' objectives or goals are aligned when these contracts exist. So that is a governance mechanism. Any other example? What about relational governance? Relational governance. This is very, very powerful, especially when you want to restrict opportunism among players. So we have the cooperative norms, trust. We know that most farmers cannot undertake certain activities on their own, not unless they pool their resources together or they join hands. So cooperative norms are also very important, and there are shared beliefs amongst the actors or the stakeholders. And at the end of the day, they work together to achieve a certain mutual goal. So it is another way of coordination. And remember, of governance. I shared 2 articles with you guys. I don't know if you managed to go through the articles. There was one on cooperatives. Did you manage to go through those articles?
Not yet, Doctor. It's on the to-do list for today.
Because that explains, by the way, whatever we are talking about is explained in one of the articles. The one on cooperatives, So, and I think this has been adopted by many actors. It is very common that farmers join hands. We have the dairy cooperatives. We have got, which other cooperatives are you aware of?
Dairy, feed.
Feed.
I think there are also medicine cooperatives. I'm open to correction on that one.
Uganda, which cooperatives do you have for farmers or other actors?
Coffee cooperatives.
The coffee cooperatives. How does it work?
Farmers are organized in cooperatives, like different farmers. For example, a given region, all farmers engaged in coffee growing subscribe to a given cooperative within that very region where they supply all their coffees. And then the cooperative delivers to a certain, maybe factory, or actually the cooperative looks for a good place, or a good, how can I call it? A cooperative looks for a place where they can sell the coffees at a good price, better than individual farmers selling off their coffees in the villages.
So they are able to bargain for better prices for these farmers, eh?
Yes, doctor.
And they're also able to, deliver volumes that are required. And like if an individual farmer decides to deliver his or her own produce, they may not really get the required volumes. But then if they collect whatever each farmer has, at the end of the day, they are able to deliver the required volume.
Actually,
So,
doctor, in the villages, they normally sell in kilos. Like someone can get off a cup and sell and get money to buy daily or certain things to meet the daily bills. But when they are organized in cooperatives, they deliver, and actually sometimes the cooperative pre-finances them at a better price. And then later on, these guys come and sell to other organizations and also bargain for better prices to cover up the pre-financing.
Yes, so they are very, very important, the cooperatives, eh? So, and we've seen how they are managed to address some of the problems that farmers do go through. And even financing, these farmers, even training the farmers and so on and so forth, other than just marketing their produce. So again, trust is another element of relational governance. And it is very important because these collaborations require open communication. And people must trust one another. The actors should trust one another. And this can help in developing a sustainable supply chain system. So we find that even in these cooperatives, it is based on trust. As they come together, they also trust one another. In whatever activities they undertake, they also trust one another. And even in entering into contractual arrangements, it is based on the trust, whatever information that is shared by the other party. You believe in him or her based on trust. So information must be shared at all stages. And we saw in the previous chapter that information is very, very important. And if it is missing, then it can impact on the other actions of the actors. So with a well-coordinated agri-food supply chain, then we are able to realize a chain performance. And this can be measured by those indicators. How efficient is the supply chain? Is the supply chain flexible enough? Remember, we've talked about the uncertainties, the volatilities, the changes that are taking place. So you must, or these actors must be able to adjust to these changes. And the quality of the products that are offered. So all these are very important. And therefore, governance of transactions. Remember, in the new institutional economics, it has been widely discussed that governance of transactions is also very costly, and there are certain costs that must be incurred as you try to govern these transactions. And when a supply chain is not well coordinated, you find that there'll always be conflicting objectives amongst the actors. There is delay in sharing information, or information can be distorted at different stages. Or sometimes complete information is not shared. So then it is important that the management of these intercompany product flows, even inter-sectoral product flows, is very important. And we don't only focus on the local supply chain. Remember, we also have the global value chains, and they also require some governance structures or frameworks. And this can appear even more complex. So as we try to move these products and undertake the different activities, then these networks, the social networks, the horizontal and vertical networks, are very important. And the relationship between the actors is very important as the products flow back forth, and as the communication also flows across these segments. Is that clear?
Yes, Doctor.
So that means we are trying to move away from the traditional supply chain to a modern supply chain where relationships are valued, where there is maximum coordination of activities. But then sometimes you find that certain chains are not well coordinated. And that can always lead to or result to a bullwhip effect, where there are fluctuations in orders, there are fluctuations in prices as you move along the supply chain, from retailers, from wholesalers, to the manufacturers, to the consumers. So you find that these orders are not in sync. Sometimes a retailer places an order, but whatever he gets is not what is demanded. Already there are some changes with the consumer. They are demanding, for more products. So they need to understand these orders along the chain at the different levels, such that whatever information is relayed is the correct one. Otherwise, we might end up with these fluctuations in orders. So you end up either you have over-delivered or under-delivered. So the bullwhip effect normally distorts demand, information within the supply chain. I think at some point I will illustrate it. I'll share with you an article on that, and you'll see what causes bullwhip effect and how the bullwhip effect can be addressed. So within the governance mechanisms, we have new institutional economics theories. And the framework of these theories is very, very important because of the cost economics. So you cannot talk about the governance, you cannot talk about coordination without touching on the costs. Because we know that there are certain transaction costs that should be minimized. And therefore, as you coordinate these activities, as you put governance mechanisms in place, then these costs are inevitable because they help in running the economic system, and they are very, very fundamental. So maybe can you mention some of the costs that are likely to be encountered as you establish relationships, as you enforce some of these governance mechanisms? I know from New Institutional Economics, you discussed some of the costs. Let's remind ourselves of the costs.
Costs like, for example, ex post and ex ante costs. Ex post being before the after the transaction, and ex ante being before the transaction occurred.
Mm-hmm. So before the transaction, can you mention some of the costs?
Obviously, before the transaction, it's scoping out competitors, it's seeing who do you want to enter into business with, doing your research before you sign that contract, just so that you don't overexpose yourself. Ex post costs will be after transaction costs, things that you didn't see coming, unforeseen legal costs, people fall through, so you have to now hire lawyers to try and follow up on some of the costs that they've incurred but I've not covered. I think those kinds of costs are covered.
So when you talk about the ex ante costs, remember before you even enter into a contractual arrangement, you must understand even the parties. We have the cost of screening. You must understand the parties that you are about to enter into a contractual arrangement with. So the cost of screening, the cost of establishing the contracts and relations with these parties. As you negotiate for the terms and conditions, that is a cost. Don't you think so?
Yes, doctor, definitely.
Huh? And then you also have the cost of exchanging the rights between the parties. Because now you've delegated the rights, of production to another party. So that is a cost. But after the contract, you need to monitor. You need to ensure that the contract has been enforced such that you don't depart from your objectives or your goals. Any other costs? Hello? You guys,
Maybe
you didn't
costs.
do new institutional economics?
Doctor, for us as UP students, institutional economics is only offered at master's level. It's one of your first semester modules. So I don't think everyone has had experience with institutional economics.
I know the
yet.
others. Makerere guys, Guys from Makerere? Hello? Guys from Makerere? Where are they?
Prof, we are on.
So you've done new institutional economics, yes?
We did behavior economics.
Yes.
Institutional behavior economics. Yes, yes.
I know it is the same. Behavioral or new institutional economics, eh?
Yes, doctor.
And you discuss some of these costs, isn't it?
Yes, doctor, but
why are you quiet then?
We are trying to recall.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now these costs, it's good to understand the costs because there is a relationship between these transaction costs and the coordination mechanisms. And it is also important to note that the coordination mechanisms or managing these coordinations requires some dependencies between activities and between the different actors. So, and that is why there exists various interdependencies. And when you look at these interdependencies, they should be addressed with a particular coordination mechanism. So these interdependencies are applicable, especially when we are talking about complex firms or organizations, to ensure that at the end of the day, the organizational part does not differ across. But then the different parts within these firms or organizations are connected. And there is interdependency among the various players and activities. So the first figure there, we have the pooled interdependency. Again, if you had read that article which I shared with you, has expounded well on this and even given examples. So when you talk about pooled interdependencies, so this is a situation whereby each of these parts contributes to a system or renders or offers some input to a system. So you find that, let's say that this is the system. This is what we want to achieve. So at the end of the day, there's that joint contribution, but by these other parts, to ensure that if there are resources required, they are contributed. So these parts must coordinate to ensure that this whole part is functional. Are we together?
Yeah.
So each part of the organization, assuming that we have departments, different departments in an organization, we have the finance department, we have got human resource department, we have got the procurement department. Do you think the organization can perform without the support of these departments? Is it possible for an organization to perform if these departments do not offer any support?
No, doctor.
So there must be some contributions, Cynthia, from these
Yes.
other departments. So they must support the organization. Are we together?
Yes, doctor.
Yes. So, and when you look at the sequential interdependencies, who can explain what it is all about? Who can try and explain the sequential dependency? Any trial, Nancy?
Doctor, I think, Shade Mercy,
Nancy?
you go first.
Okay. I was inquiring,
Let's have
can we
the
use
others
maybe?
also talk,
Okay, okay.
Yes, yes, Nancy. Nancy, do you want to explain? Hello, Nancy, are you there? We've lost Nancy.
Doctor,
Yes,
it
Uncle,
was
you wanted to...
Mercy.
Oh, Mercy, it was Mercy, eh?
Yes.
Yes, Mercy.
Doctor wanted to give an illustration maybe of a coffee factory.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, you have finance, you have administration, you have the factory, and then maybe you have the green unit, the marketing unit. So for example, if you're to get coffee from the fields, you will need the administration and the finance team to prepare. For example, when the marketing team identifies, actually also under the marketing, maybe you have the sourcing. When you identify where you're going to pick that coffee from, you will need finance to give you funds for purchase of that coffee. Then you will need still finance to give you funds to maybe fuel the trucks, get the trucks, and have administration send them off. And then when the coffee comes or it arrives the factory, you have to say the coffee is taken through production. That is the production part or unit. Then from there, you have again the marketing unit to source for the market where to supply, to sell off that coffee. So there's an interdependence of each unit and the roles they have to play regarding that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So when you talk about sequential, it means that there is a direct interdependency between the parts of a system, where the order of the interdependency is specific, such that one system or one department has a direct influence on the other department, or one part influences the other part directly without influencing the entire system. It has a specific, impact on the other system, or a direct impact on the other system. So it is a kind of a direct relationship between these parts. So if, for instance, the example that you've given, that the finance department must give some financial support to a certain department to purchase the items, and maybe that department, after the production, again supplies the next part with the product. So there's that direct linkage between these parts. What about reciprocal? Again, do you remember reciprocity? That term, reciprocity. From behavioral economics, Mercy and the team. Musa. Musa?
Yes, doctor.
What is reciprocity? Reciprocity.
Doctor, I don't recall. Let me try to memorize a bit.
You can't recall, eh? To reciprocate, eh? When you expect something in return for your offer, isn't it? Assuming that you have assisted Mercy, in doing some homework, so you expect her also to give back, eh? She can either appreciate you, buy you some lunch, or appreciate you in another way. So there's something that you expect from her in return, eh?
Doctor.
Yes?
Oh.
Maybe I can submit how I understand it.
Yes.
The reciprocal interdependence, I feel like, for example, if one department or if there are industries, for example, two industries that are independent, like depending on each other. For example, if one industry can provide the inputs to the other industry, then it's the outputs of the industry that got the inputs could be important to the other one that provided the inputs.
That provided the
inputs. Yes, like there is some exchange. Can I say? I give you an input, then your outputs will be also important to me. They are all useful too. Yes.
Yes. So there's some mutual understanding and agreement between the two firms, or between the two companies.
Doctor, can I also make a submission on what Alisa said?
Yes.
Actually, this is more evident in allied industries, because I've been seeing, especially with the meat packing kind of industries, you find there is a meat packers kind of industry, then there is another industry trying to make packaging materials for this kind of industry. So there is that kind of exchange kind of relationship. You give me this, I give you that. So you find that their relationship is kind of cyclic in nature. That's what I believe with reciprocity.
So they benefit from one another. It's not a one-sided relationship, eh? But at the end of the day, they benefit from each other. So again, that really strengthens the relationship, and they ensure that in their transactions, as they transact, they do the right things. And then, of course, we have these channel interdependencies whereby we have got the different actors. Again, for instance, we have the producers relating with the processors, and the processors relating with the retailers. And at the end of the day, they all ensure that the brand is very strong, the quality checks and system is up to date, the certification and all that have been adhered to, because all this affects all of them. So as they relate, there are certain commonalities, there are certain things that they must adhere to and ensure that they are done accordingly. So that is channel interdependencies. So coordination mechanisms requires that at the end of the day, there is gathering and processing on information and making decisions as you communicate these decisions to the other players. So depending on whether the interdependency is pooled, sequential, reciprocal, or channel, information again is very important. And coordination costs must also be minimized. So as they transact, we know that there are these costs of coordinating these activities, and these costs can be reduced by choosing a proper governance structure. Are we together? So you can decide to enter into a contractual arrangement. You can decide maybe to form a cooperative society so that you're able to minimize some of these costs. But you must take cognizance of the costs and the structure that is ideal. Is that clear?
Yes, Doctor.
Any question up to that point? So after this, I want you to read that article because it has clearly elaborated these interdependencies and in fact even given us examples of these interdependencies. So if you read that article, you'll be home and dry. It has explained everything. So let's move to this figure here that you can see. And this is the vertical coordination continuum. And some of you can recall Adam Smith when you talk about the invisible hand coordination. Do you have any idea on the invisible hand? Any idea about the invisible hand? Huh? Any idea about the invisible hand? Who can tell us what it is all about? Hello? Are we together? The invisible hand, it is a metaphor that was coined by Adam Smith. And Adam Smith reiterated that markets will always find its equilibrium without any intervention, either from the government or from other forces. So at some point, it reaches a level that the market regulates itself and finds that equilibrium without any government intervention. But then, of course, we know that there must be some coordination of activities because that metaphor has been replaced by the characteristics of these managed coordination. And when you talk about the vertical coordination continuum, this is a spectrum with distinct opposite extremes. We have the left hand and the right hand. So if you look at my right hand, we have the other extreme where we have got vertical integration. Farms have got mutual interest. There are long-term relationships, shared benefits, open information sharing. These relationships are stable and there is interdependency. But then on the other side, we have got self-interests, short-term relationship, opportunism, limited information sharing, flexibility, and independence. So you find that at one point there lies the spot cash or cash market. And I believe you remember such kind of transactions and how they are done or undertaken. So what normally happens in a spot market? Who can tell us? This is borrowed heavily, by the way, from the institutional economics, the behavioral or new institutional economics. When you talk about spot market, what normally happens? What is the nature of transactions in a spot market or cash market? Hey, you guys, you want me to talk alone?
No,
Doctor,
doctor.
spot markets are what you would consider a lot of farmers, vegetable farmers to do. It's going to the market, selling your product on the day and accepting the price that you are given. It happens instantly with cash. There's no real speculators. It's the person selling, the supplier selling directly to the buyer.
Your voice is breaking, huh?
Doctor, can I come in a little bit?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, spot markets for a case of Uganda, we usually have there are specific markets that have been structured whereby farmers, actually traders, could be farmers, could be buyers and sellers. They just bring their produce. Customers actually they bring their produce, put it in the market. Customers come and buy the produce. They transact from there and then in cash, and then the transaction is done and people split. Everybody's satisfied. This one has taken the money, the other one has taken the product. So they just meet, transact. There is nothing, anything like a relationship between them. Only getting what you want, and we cut the relationship.
And they sell to different people at different times, eh? So there's no
Yes.
established relationship whereby you have that, reliable customer or a particular customer that, comes to your shop or, where you market your products, eh? So it's about meeting different customers and you agree on the price and the person pays cash, eh? And that's the end of the transaction. So it is a short-term relationship, limited information sharing. Sometimes there is self-interest, opportunism, because
Yes,
if you don't know, yes?
Just something small. Also, like one of the characteristics of the spot market is like you always buy the product on the most favorable whatever price. For example, if you went to the market, even if you went at 11 and it's maybe they tell you the commodity is 30,000 and that's the best offer, you won't say, but yesterday maybe it was I was told it was 20,000. You just have to go with the current price. Yes.
Yes, you just go by the current price, eh? So there's no negotiation, eh?
You just have to go with the best offer that the seller can the best price that the seller can offer at the moment. Yes.
And what are normally some of the risks of such kind of transactions? Who can tell us some of the risks of spot market transactions?
I think since there is that instant exchange of the good with the cash, and then that it's the end of the relationship, even if you find that the commodity is faulty, for example, when you reach home, maybe it's not functional as you expected, it may be hard for a refund or some sort of exchange, because I mean you've done the payment, you don't have probably the contact of the seller, so I feel like it's very hard for you to even be compensated in case of there is a malfunction or something.
Yes, in case of any malfunction or there's some negative sides of the products or some defects, you cannot really trace the seller, because you just transacted on a one-off basis and that was it, eh? There is no relationship between you and the seller. Unlike in a case where there is some mutual understanding or interest or some relationship, there is this particular seller whom you normally buy vegetables from or you buy cereals from, and he knows you. This is somebody who will always wish to sell you the best. He cannot sell you, a product that is not of good shape. If he or she knows that the products are not the right ones or the ones that you normally desire, he will definitely tell you that today, I think I don't have good products for you, because of the relationship that you have with him or her. This person can always give you even goods on credit. This is somebody whom you trust and trusts you. So he wants to sell you the best of the very best. So those are some of the characteristics of this spot market transaction. And then in between, we have some hybrid forms of governing economic activities. We have the specifications. We have relation-based alliance. We have got equity-based alliance. So we have got these two extremes, the spot market and the vertical integration, whereby now relationship has been well enhanced. There is open sharing of information. And this is a kind of a model, system that is ideal, that is desired in the current world. But in between, we also have these categories of, vertical coordination. The specifications. Who can tell us what specifications is all about? I remember last time we talked about specificity. What about relation-based alliance and equity-based alliance? So when you talk about specifications, these are relationships that requires some specialized investments. They require some specialized investments just for that particular activity. Maybe you have purchased a certain machine for a certain work, or that does a certain function. And remember, this investment cannot be transferred to other non-related activities. So if you decide to discontinue that activity, then it means that the asset will remain idle or underutilized. Are we together?
No, Prof, I didn't get you right. Like, in terms of the relationship.
The specifications is a relationship that requires some specialized investment that is so specific. Let me give you an example whereby maybe you are a farmer who is engaged in wheat production. And there is a particular maybe machine that is specific to wheat production, such that if you stop producing wheat, then it means you cannot transfer its usage to other activities. You cannot use this machine in the production of maize because it is so specific to that, to wheat production. So if you discontinue wheat production, what does it mean? The machine will lie idle or it will be underutilized. Now I was asking, is there an example, or who can give us an example of such kind of specifications? Who can give us an example? Hey, guys. Who can give us an example of a specialized investment? You can be contracted to provide certain products because of the specialized machine which you have.
Doctor.
Yes.
I have an example. There was a farmer in Uganda who got some contract with Britannia.
We've lost you.
Britannia is a biscuit making company. So, are you getting me now?
Yes, yes.
Hello? Yes. I was saying that this farmer got a contract with Britannia, a biscuit making company, because of the type of beans he was producing. So he used to produce these black beans. So he was given a contract to produce about 28,000 tons of the beans. But from those beans, there were some specific standards that he was supposed to meet as he was producing the 28,000 tons of beans. So I think specification also still applies in this kind of scenario.
Yes. So that is well illustrated. So there were some specific beans that he was producing, and of course made certain requirements.
Yes, doctor.
So you can enter into such kind of relationship also. So that is another way of, vertical coordination. We also have the relation-based alliance, collaborations, forming alliances or collaborative alliances to facilitate collaboration at various degrees. So you've seen companies form alliances, either because of limited resources or capacity or knowledge or skills. Then when they come together, they're able to, pull some strides. We also have the equity-based alliances, whereby companies purchase equity from another business or a partial acquisition of other businesses, and they're able to share again some competencies and resources. So these are just other forms or categories of vertical coordination. So in decision making, one can decide to settle on a specific category based on the outcome that is desired, based on the nature of the activities. But all these are various ways of coordinating along the supply chain. But ideally, if you look at this framework, we are moving to a more collaborative, approach. And that is the farthest extreme whereby players have got mutual interest. There is a long-term relationship, shared benefits, open information, sharing, there is stability within the systems and interdependencies. So that is the ideal situation or the desired situation. So we are able to see these contractual transactions being established. And when these contractual transactions have been established, then we can minimize some of the opportunistic behaviors that we had mentioned. Is that clear? Hello?
Yes, doctor.
Are we together?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
Any question concerning this continuum or framework? So it's basically explaining the extreme ends where actors can decide to rely on the spot market. And those are the characteristics. And you should understand some of the outcomes of this spot market. You know, when people are economical with the information that they share, you are likely to encounter these opportunistic behaviors. You will be exploited as a buyer. Sometimes the person can sell to you adulterated products, poor quality products. After all, you don't meet always. It is a one-off transaction. So in order to avoid this, then we should move towards the further end, whereby vertical integration or relationships are established. And when these relationships are established, then those are the characteristics of such kind of relationships. And in that way, we are able to address the problems that we had discussed earlier on. Any question regarding this continuum or framework?
No, doctor, all good.
So I want you to figure out or read those articles and understand the benefits of vertical integration, the benefits of horizontal integrations. Is that clear? So these are some of the costs that, remember, we had mentioned. The ex ante, I think Hanko is the one who mentioned them, the ex ante and the ex post costs. Of course, we have got the frequency, the volume of transactions, again, can influence or determine these costs. And we also have the uncertainty attributes, having limited ability to predict the environmental changes, or even to predict one's behavior under certain unforeseen circumstances, can also lead to these costs. And we have bounded rationality. Who can tell us what bounded rationality is all about? So you can see Hanko has also shared with you some document there. So you can download it. It explains that diagram pretty well. So what is bounded rationality? You guys, you need to go back to these economics, because there is a high correlation between behavioral and institutional economics and these, course. When we have bounded rationality, we are likely to have incomplete contracts. When we are facing these uncertainties or these opportunistic behaviors, we are likely to have incomplete contracts. People dishonoring the contracts. You've agreed with a farmer that he will be producing a certain amount of vegetables. You've agreed on the price and everything. But then when the time comes to deliver, he gives you some stories. He creates some stories that there was an outbreak of a disease and the vegetables were really destroyed and I managed to harvest this. And yet, the farmer has got a better price from another dealer. So that ends up to be incomplete. The contract remains incomplete. Can you give me examples of incomplete contracts? Any other example of an incomplete contract? Geoffrey, today you've not talked. Ochom. Is Geoffrey there?
Yes, doctor.
Yes,
I've been
give
talking.
us an
I've been
example
talking.
of incomplete contract.
Incomplete contracts. I think an example of incomplete contracts is whereby maybe there is an incidence of breach of some contractual arrangements and the contract is terminated from there. I don't know whether that one also works.
A breach of what?
Breach of contractual arrangements. Maybe somebody did not abide by to the
like which one?
Yes.
Like which one?
Now, maybe for example, the contract maybe was maybe I was given a contract to supply maybe broilers to a hotel, but in the contractual arrangements, maybe I was supposed to supply maybe 500 birds every week. And unfortunately, I don't meet such kind of the quantity. So it is repetitively until the contract is ended, just because of my failure to honor the agreement that was initially drafted.
Yes, so all those can lead to incomplete contracts. So there are certain things that actually weakens the contract enforcement. And these opportunistic behaviors weakens the contract enforcement. Sometimes you find that people default on loan payment. They produce poor quality products. They, adulterate these products like milk. They use inaccurate weighing machines or weighing measures. So what is bounded rationality? When you talk about bounded rationality, what do we mean?
Doctor, what I saw, they were saying, like, rather than focusing on, for example, maybe optimizing the resources, you rather focus on satisfying the customers, like what the customers want. I don't know whether it's...
When you talk about bounded rationality, it means that you are making decision based on the limited information that you have. Whatever amount of information at your disposal is what will guide you in decision making. So if you have limited amount of information, it means that even your decision making will be irrational because it will be limited to the information which you have. So at the end of the day, it boils down to the amount of information that these people have at any given time. You have limited information, you are thinking, the decision making will also be limited. If you have sufficient and enough information, it means that you are able to make a rational decision. But if you have limited, you will definitely make irrational decision. So this is decision making based on the amount of information that an actor has at his or her disposal. Does it make sense?
So does it mean it's an irrational decision making process? When is it irrational, or it can either be irrational or rational depending on the outcome?
It can be irrational or rational depending on the amount of information. But when you talk about bounded rationality, decision making based on the limited information or based on the information that one possesses. If you have more information, in terms of even price, in terms of quality, then you can decide to scout around for better prices, quality products. But if you don't have that information, you don't have options, isn't it? You'll either settle on one particular or another product, and that is it. Is that clear?
Yes, Doctor.
At the end of the day, we need sufficient information. Information sharing is very, very important. We should not be mean with information. Information should flow freely along the supply chain so that we are not bounded by whatever information we have. We cannot make rational decision simply because we have limited information. Is that clear?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, Doctor.
So is there any question concerning these frequency attributes? I've mentioned that the volume of transactions again influences these costs. You find that if you transact every now and then, these costs will increase, isn't it? But if you purchase items or in volumes, then you are likely to minimize some of these costs. That's why you normally find that there are people who like buying in bulk. They buy things in bulk rather than buying things in piecemeal. Again, the uncertainties. We are not sure, we don't have the ability to predict some of the changes that happens in our environment. even to predict people's behavior. When you enter into a contract with somebody, you might not be in a position to predict his or her behavior. And that's what leads to these opportunistic behaviors. So any question regarding that? So that is just for you guys to read. I think we talked about the net chains, the horizontal and the vertical chains. Did we mention this? Of course, those ones we've talked about. We've mentioned them several times. For example, when you have a governance structure which links small-scale farmers, with the other farmers, such as farmer organizations, that is a horizontal chain. And if it is vertical, linking farmers with the other players or actors, the market, the traders, the processors. Those are examples of vertical chains. Okay, so any question? I've shared with you the papers, the articles, and I think, I don't know if I shared with you the one that Hanko has just shared, but it is a nice one. Please read it. It will enable you understand that framework that we've just talked about.
No, Doctor, you shared the others with us, the other two important ones. This one wasn't there.
I didn't share this one because I have it also. I have it.
Okay.
This vertical coordination continuum, I have it with me, but you can share it with the rest of the guys.
All right, will do, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Okay. So please read these 3 articles. They are very, very important, because if I were to set a question, these 3 articles can give me several questions, options. So Alice is asking whether tomorrow the class will be at the usual time. Yes, not unless there'll be a change. I will communicate in advance. But I expect that we meet tomorrow at the same time.
All right, thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, so I think we can have our other the second continuous assessment test after next week. Maybe after next week.
So would that be in the first week of October then, Doctor?
Yeah, the first week of, not the first week of October. Next week will be the first week of October, the second week of October.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor.
Okay. So thank you guys, and have a good day.
You too, Doctor. Good day too.
Thank you so much, Doctor. You too. Bye.
Please ensure that you read those articles. I'm emphasizing on those articles.
Yes, Doctor.
If you read those articles, you've already covered the notes, what we've discussed.
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Doctor. You too.